You have probably noticed something strange. Walk through any zoo in the world, and you will find lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, cheetahs, creatures the size of motorcycles, built entirely to kill. Then you reach the wolf enclosure, and they are just medium. The largest gray wolf ever recorded weighed around 80 kilograms. A full-grown male Siberian tiger tops 300. That is nearly 4 times heavier, and yet wolves and tigers are both apex predators. Both sit at the very top of their food chains. Both have terrorized entire continents for thousands of years. So why did cats become giants? And dogs never did? Most people think the answer is simple. Cats are just bigger animals. That is how evolution worked out. Move on. But that is not the answer. And when you find out the real reason, you are going to look at your dog and yourself in a completely different way. Because this is not really a story about animals. It is a story about two survival strategies that split apart millions of years ago. Two paths nature tried. And one of those paths leads directly into your living room and directly into why you are the kind of person who bonds with other creatures in the first place. Stay until the end. The last part will change the way you think about every dog you have ever met. Let us start with what big actually means. A Siberian tiger in full health weighs as much as 2 adult men stacked together. It can carry a carcass heavier than itself up a near vertical cliff. It can kill a fully grown brown bear. It can bring down prey 5 times its own weight in a matter of seconds. And it does all of this completely alone. No teammates, no backup. Just one animal and 400 kilograms of pure killing architecture. A lion is slightly different. Lions hunt in coordinated groups called prides, but a single lioness can take down a wildebeest by herself if she needs to. The size is still there, the power is still there, the ability to solo kill large prey is baked in at the hardware level. Now picture a wolf. A gray wolf is fast, relentless, and terrifyingly intelligent. But if you stood one next to a tiger, the wolf would look like a medium-sized family pet. Because physically, that is roughly what it is. The biggest wolves on the planet, the Mackenzie Valley wolves of northern Canada, top out at around 80 kilograms on an exceptional day. Most wild wolves live their whole lives between 35 and 55. A tiger outweighs them by a factor of 4 to 6. So what happened? Why did one branch of the family tree produce these enormous, awe-inspiring apex predators, and the other just stayed medium? The answer starts with how they decided to hunt. Here is what a tiger does. A tiger hunts completely alone. It must, because a tiger cannot afford a pack. It burns so much energy and needs so much food that a single tiger requires a private territory of up to 1,000 square kilometers just to sustain itself. There is no room for companions, no room for sharing kills. It is a one-animal enterprise from the very beginning, so the tiger evolved to be a perfect solo killing machine. Massive forelimbs loaded with fast twitch muscle, retractable claws that fold away clean, stay razor-sharp, and hook into prey like grappling irons. A skull built to generate bite forces that can crush a spine in a single clench. Long hind legs coiled for explosive launch. The tiger finds dense cover. It waits, sometimes for hours, perfectly still. Then it explodes. It can cover 10 meters in a single bound. From the prey's point of view, there is barely time to register that anything is happening before it is already over. This is called ambush predation. And ambush hunting has one very clear evolutionary pressure applied to it over millions of years. Size matters. Because if you are going to kill an animal completely alone, you need to be physically large enough to overpower it alone. A tiger that is even slightly too small fails on a regular basis and starves. A tiger just big enough to take large prey survives and passes its genes on. The big ones kept winning, and kept getting bigger. Now picture what wolves do instead. Wolves run their prey into the ground. They choose a target, often the weakest animal in a herd, and they chase it across kilometers of open landscape. Not sprinting, pacing, relentlessly. They rotate which wolves push hardest, the leaders dropping back to recover while others take the front. They communicate mid-chase, reading each other's body language. They cut off escape routes. They split the workload perfectly. A pack of 6 average-sized wolves can bring down a moose that would easily destroy any single one of them in a direct fight. This strategy is called cursorial predation, and cursorial predation applies completely different evolutionary pressure. Size starts to become a disadvantage, not an advantage. What matters instead is endurance, intelligence, cooperation, the ability to sustain speed over long distances without burning out. A wolf that is too large burns more calories, needs more food, and falls behind on a 20-kilometer chase. The lean, fast, cooperative wolf survives. Over millions of years, wolves stayed medium because medium worked brilliantly for the lifestyle they had chosen. Two survival strategies, two completely different bodies shaped by them. But here is where most people get surprised, because there is a chapter in this story that almost nobody knows about. There were giant dog-like creatures. They were real, and they were enormous. Around 10 million years ago, a creature called Epicyon haydeni walked across North America. Epicyon was a canid, a fully paid-up member of the dog family, and it weighed up to 170 kilograms. That is heavier than a male African lion. It had an immense skull, built for raw power, crushing jaws that could crack bone the way a spotted hyena can today. Researchers sometimes call it a bone-crushing dog. It was one of the largest terrestrial carnivores alive on the continent at the time. So we did have a giant dog. Once. Why do we not have one now? Because Epicyon went extinct around 5 million years ago. And the reason it vanished tells you everything you need to understand about why the world looks the way it looks today. Epicyon had gambled on a middle path. It had pushed toward large, solitary size, toward raw, crushing power. But it was not quite a cat. It lacked the retractable claws, the explosive burst muscle architecture, the ambush specialist's body. And it was not quite a wolf either. It had drifted away from the lean cooperative model that made pack hunting so efficient. It was caught between two working strategies without fully committing to either one. Then the climate of North America shifted. Grasslands expanded, prey distributions changed. Animals that could adapt quickly survived. The flexible, social, medium-sized pack hunters survived. Epicyon, carrying 170 kilograms of body mass, needing enormous amounts of food every single week to stay alive, could not adjust fast enough. This is one of the hidden costs of being a giant carnivore. The energy bill is staggering. A 170-kilogram predator needs to kill and consume a genuinely large amount of meat on a near-constant basis just to keep its own body running. If prey becomes scarce for even a short stretch, a giant solitary predator faces a crisis it cannot cooperate its way out of. A pack of lean wolves can survive on smaller prey. They can spread across a wider area. They can share information about where food is and adjust territory dynamically. The giant loner has none of those options. When things got hard, Epicyon could not find a way through, and nature quietly erased it. The experiment ran. The result came back negative, and the dog family returned to what it was best at. But then you might reasonably ask, if being a giant carnivore is so costly and risky, how did the cats pull it off? Why did tigers and lions not run into the same problem Epicyon did? And this is the part that most people never consider. Cats have something that dogs never developed, and it is the thing that makes large body size sustainable for an ambush predator. In a way, it simply is not for a pursuit predator. Retractable claws. A cat's claws stay completely sheathed inside soft tissue when they are not in use. They never touch the ground. They never drag across rock or soil. They stay perfectly sharp, permanently, because nothing ever wears them down. When a tiger needs to grip struggling prey, those claws deploy like grappling hooks and hold with extraordinary force. This is what allows a single cat to control an animal far larger than itself without losing its grip mid-kill. A dog's claws touch the ground with every single step. They stay permanently blunt from constant contact with every surface the animal walks on. A dog cannot grip large struggling prey the way a cat can. It relies on bite force and neck shake instead. That works well at medium scale, but it becomes a serious limitation if you are trying to reliably kill prey several times your own weight as a solo hunter. This means that scaling a wolf up to tiger size would not create a functional predator. It would create a broken one. A wolf-shaped animal at 300 kilograms is too heavy and burns too much energy for the long-range chasing that makes pack hunting efficient. But it lacks the claw architecture and burst muscle frame of an ambush specialist. It cannot cooperate its way to success because it has abandoned the lean, efficient pack model, and it cannot overpower large prey reliably because it lacks the gripping tools cats evolved. It falls into the same trap Epicyon fell into. Too big to run, not equipped to ambush, stuck in between. Cats and dogs are not just different in size, they are different in fundamental architecture, and you cannot scale one into the other any more than you can turn a sprinting track athlete into a powerlifter by simply feeding them more. Now here is where this stops being about animals in the wild and starts being about you. Think about your dog right now. Actually picture it. It follows you from room to room, every room. All day, it cannot stand to lose sight of you for more than a few minutes. It watches you intensely while you eat, tracking every movement. It howls or barks when you leave the house, sometimes for the entire time you are gone. And when you walk back through that door, it reacts like you have returned from a month-long voyage rather than a 40-minute grocery run. That is not just personality. That is millions of years of pack wiring. Redirected at you, your dog genuinely perceives you as its pack. The ancient instinct says, stay with the group, track the group's location, signal when the group separates, celebrate when the group reunites. Because in the wild, losing the pack meant death. And because dogs evolved as cooperation specialists, that bond drive never got selected out. It intensified. It became the thing dogs are most fundamentally built around. Now think about your cat. It sleeps between 12 and 16 hours a day, conserving energy exactly the way a burst power ambush hunter needs to. It stalks things silently and methodically, even toys, even shadows, even a piece of string. It disappears for hours and returns without explanation or apparent guilt. It does not need to track your location the way your dog does because it was never built for the social dependency that pack hunting creates. Two survival strategies, both thousands of years old, both playing out in your living room right now, every single day. But there is one final thing, the part that reframes everything. When humans first domesticated dogs, somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, depending on which evidence you look at, we immediately started shaping them. And over centuries of selective breeding, some of those dogs got very large. A fully grown English Mastiff can top 110 kilograms. A Great Dane can reach 90. An Irish Wolfhound can stand tall enough to look a grown adult directly in the eye. So technically, big dogs do exist. We built them. But look at what every single one of those giant breeds was created for. The Great Dane was bred to hunt wild boar alongside human hunters. The Mastiff was bred to guard human settlements and work alongside human fighters. The Irish Wolfhound was bred to chase large prey until humans could arrive to make the kill. Every giant dog we ever created was designed to work as an extension of a human dog team. We built large dogs. And every one of them was built for cooperation. We never built a dog to be a solitary apex predator, because that is not what the dog family is. That is not what 40 million years of evolution was pointing toward. The dog's real superpower was never size or raw power. It was the capacity to bond, to cooperate, to read social signals so accurately that it could partner with a completely different species and make that partnership one of the most successful biological arrangements in the history of life on this planet. Which brings us to the actual answer. Big cats exist because the cat family went down a road that demanded individual power. Solitary hunting, ambush architecture. That road selects for size, and size compounds over generations. And giant cats are the result. Big wild dogs do not exist because the dog family went down the opposite road. Social cooperation, pursuit hunting, shared effort. That road selects against giant size because giant size is a liability when your whole strategy depends on endurance, flexibility, and working together. Nature tried the giant dog with Epicyon haydeni. It gave it 170 kilograms and crushing jaws and a whole continent to roam, and it still lost to the medium-sized pack hunters when things got difficult. The dogs that survived were not the biggest ones. They were the ones that stayed together, and then eventually they found something even better than their own pack. They found us. The animal asleep at the foot of your bed right now is the living conclusion of that entire story. Millions of years of selection pressure that said bonding outlasts brute force. That knowing your group, reading your group, staying loyal to your group is the survival advantage that endures when everything else falls away. Your dog does not need to be the size of a tiger. It figured out something the tiger never did, and that turned out to be more than enough.